So, good morning, everybody. So this is something that I've been organized at the last minute, so please bear with me. Okay, so is there any, before I start, is there anybody that I've never taken tantric initiation or doesn't know anything about tantra here present? Please raise your hand if it's the case, so I can have an idea. Okay, so very few. Thank you. So I already apologize, for those who are much more experienced than me and have more understanding than me. Okay, so this is just going to be an introduction to tantra, and I have to do that in 1 hour and 30 minutes. So please be chill. Okay, don't expect too much. Okay, and in terms of tantra, I feel like quite inadequate to present those things to you. Anyway, we're going to try together. So. As you know, on the Buddha's teachings, the Buddha has taught for 41 years, and his teaching is divided in two vehicles, the Hinayana vehicle and the Mahayana vehicle. And so the Hinayana vehicle is focused on the mere elimination of one's own suffering, and the Mahayana vehicle embraces the more vast, is grounded in compassion. And the goal of the person who entered the Mahayana vehicle is to eliminate all suffering, the suffering of all sentient beings. And the person who entered the Mahayana vehicle assumed that burden, okay? And in terms of the Mahayana vehicle, we distinguish two vehicles inside, okay? The perfection vehicle and the tantra vehicle. So to understand what's distinguished, what is the difference between the tantra vehicle and the perfection vehicle, we have to go through some characteristics. We are going to single out characteristics that belong exclusively to the tantra vehicle. In this way, we'll understand, what it's about. First, we have to feel very, very fortunate, because the meeting of the tantric vehicle is even more rare than the meeting of the Buddha. So it is said in the text that there is a particular flower, it's called the Udumvara flower, that is found only in this land when the Buddha comes. So when the Buddha appears, then that flowers grow. When the Buddha attains enlightenment, that flowers blossom. And when the Buddha passes away into parinirvana, that flowers disappear. Okay. So the meeting of the Tantra is even more rare than this flower. Why? Because in these fortunate eons, and we call it the fortunate eons because 1,000 Buddha will appear, and only among those 1,000, only 3 will teach Tantra. Okay? So it's very, very rare. So the fourth one, which is Buddha Shakyamuni, we are quite sure because he actually did it. For the other 2, it is mainly inferential. So we suppose they will also Tantra. Why? Because one make the prayer to teach everything that the Buddhas of the past have taught before, and the other one is Lama Tsongkhapa, due to his extensive explanation of the Tantra past. Due to this connection, we assume that he will also teach Tantra. Okay, so just to express, we should feel very fortunate due to the rarity to meet in this opportunity. Okay, so in terms of it's also we should also feel fortunate because to practice efficiently the tantric path, you have to be born as a human in this land. We have to be born from the womb and with the 6 elements. So this qualifies us to practice the whole level of tantra and to be able to attain the fully qualified result of the enlightenment result in one life. Okay. So in terms of the prerequisites, so there is the door of entrance into Buddhism. Okay, is to take refuge, to assume the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha as one's own refuge, and the doors of entrance of the Mahayana is to have generate the uncontrived bodhicitta, the wish to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. And the doors of Tantra, to enter the doors of Tantra, is to receive the empowerment. Okay? So in terms of the empowerment, there are some prerequisites. Okay? So to be granted the full access to the empowerment, we have to take refuge and to assume the bodhisattva vows. Okay? So this is something that I want to say to you also because of the new people. So okay, so to actually receive the empowerment, okay, to assist the empowerment and to receive it, you will have to take refuge. So there are like 12 precepts of refuge that have to be respected, and 18 roots and 46 secondary bodhisattva vows. And in terms of the qualification, to receive this teaching, of course, we have to be the only motivation is to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. So that will be the state of the Buddha. But let's say we start to be qualified when our mind has been trained in the three principal aspects of the past. So let's say, what does that mean? It means like when you sit, okay, you're able to, by reflecting on them, you're able to bring them into your own sphere of experience. Then this will be the level of qualification required to start to be fit to the tantric teachings. So if there is some question, please feel free to stop me at any moment. Okay. Anyway, we will have time together a little bit every day. So we'll go through the Rinpoche's teaching together, and if there is question, I can also answer at that time. Yeah. Okay, so in terms, we have seen, there is two vehicles, the Hinayana vehicle and the Mahayana vehicle. The Hinayana vehicle being focusing on one's own liberation, and the Mahayana vehicle focusing on liberation of all sentient beings. But inside, so we can distinguish like three doors of entrance. Okay, three doors of entrance. We can distinguish those vehicles. They correspond to the predisposition of beings. They love this 84,000 of teaching just to subdue the mind of sentient beings and to be in tune with their predisposition. So in terms of the three types of disciple, we can distinguish those who aspire to the low, those who aspire to the vast, and those who aspire to the profound. So those who aspire to the low are those who are exclusively inclined to follow a path which is completely deprived of attachment. So the emphasis is the renunciation, the mind of to the attribute of this life, like being a lay person, having a family, those kind of things. Okay, and those who aspire to the vast are those who their mind subdued by the vast activity and mainly the 6 perfections and the 10 bodhisattva ground. Okay, and those who aspire to the profound, okay, are those who are inclined, are those who are subdued by the tantric vehicle, where there is a conduct together with attachment. And attachment is sticking into the past as an head into the past, and specifically. There is a special type of mind which is generated, and that type of mind, which is like in the entity of like a bliss, is used to increase one's own realizations. I can put it like that. If we want to distinguish those two vehicles, the perfection vehicle and the tantra vehicle, also called the resultant vehicle, which constitute the Mahayana vehicle. So the perfection vehicle is called the causal vehicle. Why? Because you mainly, during your path, the practitioner, he mainly produces the cause for enlightenment. Okay, this path does not include or does not cultivate aspects which are similar to the result. Okay, so I repeat, this is very important. Okay, the perfection vehicle, which is also known as the sutra vehicle, solely produce the causes for the result. The cultivation of that path do not include the cultivation of aspects similar to the result. It does not take aspects similar to the result at the time of the path. While the tantra vehicle, which is also the resultant vehicle, also is based on the 6 perfection and the ground and everything, but it also cultivates, use at the time of the pass, aspect that belongs to the result. For example, the deity yoga. Okay? The deity yoga is the heart of the tantric pass. So in addition, I repeat, okay? In addition of practicing cultivating the practices which are similar to the causal vehicle, it also cultivate aspects at the time of the pass that are similar to the result. So mainly, at the time of the pass, the practitioner will visualize himself as the fully qualified Buddha, and will imagine that his enjoyment as the one of the Buddha, his abode is the one of the Buddha, and his activity as similar to the one of the Buddha. Okay? So it's a yoga of imagination, okay, that takes aspects that belong to the result, and they're used at the time of the pass to ripen faster the proper continuum. It's as a means to ripen one's own continuum faster. Okay. Is it clear? I mean, is it okay? So the Tantra vehicle, so this is one very important characteristic, okay? It is that the Tantra vehicle or the resultant vehicle uses aspects that belong to the result at the time of the pass. This is the deity yoga. And this deity yoga, because of this deity yoga, the Tantra vehicle is also called the Vajra vehicle. The Vajra vehicle. So what does that mean, Vajra? Vajra means indestructibility or inseparability. Because in the Tantra vehicle, there is an inseparability of method and wisdom. So in terms of the Sutra vehicle, the method, the perfection vehicle, the method is the mind of enlightenment, and the wisdom is the mind that understands emptiness. Okay, so the mind of enlightenment and the sixth perfection are the method, and the mind that realizes emptiness is the wisdom. In terms of the Tantra vehicle, there is no difference in wisdom. The wisdom is the same. Okay? The mind that understands emptiness, emptiness of inherent existence. But the method vehicle, it is quite different. Also, as we have seen before, there is those six perfection, okay, and the mind of enlightenment. The method here is the deity yoga. And there is this inseparability. What does that mean, inseparability? It means that in one single mind, those two aspects of method and wisdom are contained. Okay? This is why this particularity of the Tantra vehicle, where there is a very fast or quicker accumulation of method and wisdom, because those two exist in a single mind. So then maybe you will say, but also, those two, the mind of enlightenment and the activities of the bodhisattvas and the bodhicitta also do exist also simultaneously. It is true that they exist simultaneously. For example, when we practice generosity, we try also to be motivated by influenced by understanding of the emptiness of the three sphere, the action, the agent and the object. But in the perfection vehicle, those are two minds that exist simultaneously. You see, we have the mind of generosity, and that mind of generosity is influenced by the mind understanding emptiness. Those are two conceptual minds. While in terms of they sustain each other. Sustain means that when one is increased, the other is increased. But in terms of the Tantra, those two exist in a single mind. And this is done through the deity yoga. So what does that mean? It means that when the bodhisattva or when the practitioner meditate himself as the Buddha, for example, as Chenrezig, and he also meditate the abode, the environment at the pure mandala, then that mind simultaneously understand that the deity and the mandala is empty of inherent existence. So we have to distinguish what appears to the mind and what is ascertained by that mind. So what appears to the mind is the body of the Buddha, oneself as a Buddha, And what that mind understands is the emptiness of inherent existence of that very appearance, of that very body. Okay, so this is the very particular distinction. And it is very difficult to build, to actually build those two singles, because we have the appearing object and the ascertain object. Is it okay? Can you understand? Yeah. Yeah. So you see, what does that explain us? This explains us that at the time in the tantric path, which is the resultant path, there is the cultivation at the time of the path of an aspect which is similar to the result. So in the perfection vehicle, we have the cultivation of an aspect similar to the result in terms of the mind, but not in terms of the body. Because we meditate, the practitioner meditates on the 100, there is the cultivation of the 173 aspect of the exalted knower that correspond to the omniscient mind. So in terms of the mind, there is this bringing to mind those characteristics that belong to the result, but not in terms of the Buddha's body. And in terms of the Buddha's body, what is presented in the perfection vehicle is the accumulation of virtue. But the accumulation of virtue just bring the imprints, is like a cooperative condition. It is not some kind of substantial. It is not like a congruent cause for the actual result. Okay, so in terms of the sutra vehicle, there is no cultivation. There is no means to produce the body of the Buddha. The means to produce the body of the Buddha is only presented in Tantra. So what does that explain us? It explains us that to achieve the state of Buddha, we necessarily have to practice Tantra at some point. So we are very fortunate. We have made the Tantra path, so we can put the imprints also of the Buddha's body. So I look through my notes. Okay. So basically, those are the main differences. Okay. So it is a resultant vehicle. Why? Because it uses features of the result at the time of the path. Okay. And the heart is the deity yoga. Where you visualize yourself in the aspect of as a fully enlightened beings. So it's a yoga of imagination, and that you imagine that you have all the attributes of the state of Buddhahood. Your environment is a pure land, or the pure environment, pure mandala. Your activities are enlightened activity, and your enjoyment are the enjoyment of the Buddha. This is the way you ripen your own continent for the result. Okay? And this deity yoga, okay, we have this Vajra vehicle. Why? Because you have this inseparability of method and wisdom. Method is the deity yoga, and the wisdom is the understanding of emptiness. So in a single instant of mind, those two exist. So it's not like two consciousness helping each other. It's the single mind. You have the appearing object is the Buddha's body, and what is ascertained by that mind is the emptiness of that Buddha's body. Okay, this is a very important characteristic to understand. So in terms of the Tantra, the beings who are subdued by Tantra are also of different level and predisposition. This is why the Tantric vehicle is then subdivided into 4 classes. Okay? So we have 4 types of disciple in terms of the Tantra in general. We have the inferior, the middling, the supreme, and the very supreme. And then respectively, we have 4 classes of Tantra. So the action Tantra is for the inferior, the performance Tantra is for the middling, the Yoga Tantra is for the supreme, and the highest Yoga Tantra is for the very supreme. Of course, inside of those you have even more subdivisions, but let's keep it simple. Yeah. So we have 4 classes of Tantra because there are 4 types of disciple that are inclined toward 4 different types of practices or emphasis, but also it is 4 types of disciple that can handle a certain level of attachment. We have seen that attachment is taken as an aid into the past, into the Tantra. Why? Why? Because this mind of attachment will help us to manifest a more subtle level of mind that will help us to realize emptiness and eliminate the various level of the conception of true existence. This is the main thing. So we have there's 2 ways to look at those 4 classes of Tantra. One is in terms of the emphasis, in terms of the practice, and one is in terms of the level of attachment that the practitioner is able to handle, basically. It comes down to that, you know. So we have the Kriya Tantra is for those who are able to use into the past the attachment that arise, that exists at the time of contemplating the female deity, or male deity for the woman, etc. And the performance tantra is performance tantra is those who are able to handle the level of attachment that arise when there is the smiling at each other, when the practitioner and the visualized deity, you know, they laugh or they smile to each other. And this is the performance tantra. And the yoga tantra is for those who are able to handle the level of attachment that exists when there is holding hand or embracing. Okay? And the highest yoga tantra is for those who are able to handle the level of attachment that exists with the union with the female deity. So you see, attachment is not transformed into the past. This is not the meaning here. Attachment is an object of abandonment, okay? But attachment is taken as an aid into the past. Okay? This is quite different. So don't think that attachment becomes the past. This is not the means. Due to the lack of, maybe some confusion, maybe at some point, you know, you think that, oh, since you practice Tantra, you know, you don't have to care about attachment and you can, you know, become wild in every kind of aspect and fields. You know, that's not the meaning. So what's the point is that when you start to be really like a tantric practitioner, as the more you use the object of attachment, the more your understanding of emptiness improves. That's the point. So for us now, I mean, maybe I talk to myself, the more I use attachment, the more confusion increase. Not my wisdom. The more my grasping into true existence increase, and the more my confusion and my bewilderment, you know, increase. For the tantric practitioner, you see, his mind is never under the power of attachment. He uses attachment. He has the complete control of that mental factor, you know, and he's taken as an edge into the past to manifest the mind of bliss. Because when attachment is present, there is the happiness feeling is also present. Happiness feeling is also present, and that mind is used to understand emptiness. This happy mind, or this blissful mind, is used to understand emptiness. So for a tantric practitioner, according to his different level type of attachment that he can handle, the more he will use object of attachment, the more his wisdom realizing emptiness will increase. So if it's the case, there is no problem. You can go. You know, if it's not the case, then you have to be very careful. So to be a tantric practitioner, it's for people of very, very sharp faculty. Very, very sharp faculty. It is very, very difficult to find like real tantric practitioner. It's very difficult. It's very sharp faculty. It's not like for example, the sutra pass. You see the sutra pass when you, for example, you have the lamrim. You know, if you know how to look at things, everything is there. You know, the suffering is there, the impermanence is there. You know, the dependent arising is there. For the tantra, it's different because it's a yoga of imagination. So you have to superimpose something. You see, it's much more difficult. So ideally, the tantric vehicle is for bodhisattvas, you know, those people who have who have an uncontrived man of enlightenment, but they cannot bear to wait like 3 countless eons to attain the state of a Buddha to help sentient beings. So they look for like a quick pass, once they're bodhisattva, So they are exclusively motivated, by the wish to fully benefit sentient beings, to eliminate their own limitation, to fully respond to the expectation of sentient beings and fulfill their wishes. Okay, so we have seen that we can distinguish those 4 levels of tantra in terms of the 4 types of disciple and the ability to handle a certain level of attachment that present in a certain situation or due to in a certain condition practice. So we can also distinguish tantra in terms of the emphasis of the practice. So we have action tantra, performance tantra, yoga tantra, highest yoga tantra. Sometimes we use the Sanskrit, Kriya, Chaya yoga, and Manutara yoga tantra. Maybe you're more familiar with this. So here is from the point of view. So we have the point of view of the disciple to use object of desire, but you have also the point of view of the manner in which the respective disciple are subdued. So, for example, in the Kriya Tantra, there is an emphasis in the outer activities, and a little bit less and less in terms of the rather than the inner meditative stabilization. So the outer activity, it is someone that likes, that, in Kriya, they said there is a great emphasis in outer activity. For example, cleanness of the body, of the clothes, and the environment of your practice, the cleanness of what you eat. You cannot eat like, and this is all for you as well. You cannot eat black food because it will create an obstacle to the success in the practice. And that they will prevent the deity to be drawn closer to you during your recitation. So you see, in Kriya, there is an emphasis in those outer activities. There is a lot of, ablutions, and the ritual are very, very elaborate. And in the performance tantra, there is an equal measure of outer activity and inner meditative stabilization. This is equal. In yoga tantra, the emphasis is placed on inner meditative stabilization, inner yoga, inner practice, and much less in terms of the outer activity. And in highest yoga tantra, we do not deepen anymore on outer activities. It's mainly, essentially, exclusively the inner meditative stabilization. So you see, you can distinguish those 4 classes of tantra in terms of the ability to use object of desire, or the means through which the disciple is subdued. It's 2 things. Okay? Is it clear? Don't answer together. Sorry. Yes. Do you have any questions so far with what I've been covered? Do you have any questions? Okay. Yes, there is one question over there.
Yes. I lost my concentration. Hello. I lost my concentration. Could you just repeat what you just said?
From the beginning?
No, just in terms of the, I don't know how you called it, the attitude that one holds.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we've seen, we have 4 classes of Tantra. Okay? Kriya, Chaya, Yoga, Manutara Yoga. Okay? So those 4 classes, we can look at those 4 divisions can be looked from 2 perspectives. One, in terms of the ability of the disciple to use object of desire. Basically, the level of attachment that the practitioner can handle without being overcome by attachment. Now, for us, for example, when we have object of attachment, our mind is completely overcome by attachment. There is no control. Attachment control our body, speech, mind, everything. So for that practitioner, you see, he's able to handle that level. He has the complete control of what's going on. His mind is not overcome by the affliction and by ignorance. So this is one way. The other way is inside of those 4 classes, you have certain practices. So there is an emphasis on outer activity and inner meditative stabilization. And we divide those 4 classes in terms of the means through which, or the methods through which, the various disciples are subdued. So in the Kriya Tantra, there is emphasis with the outer activity. So we put great importance of the behavior, what you eat, the cleanness of the environment of the practitioner, and there is all of these kind of things. And less with respect to the inner meditative stabilization. The performance or the chaya is equal because it corresponds to the predisposition of that person, to the inclination. And in the yoga, there is emphasis on the inner meditative stabilization, the inner yoga, and much less for the outer activity. And in the Mantra Yoga Tantra, there is this abandonment of outer activity and is exclusively emphasis on the inner yoga. That's it. Okay. Are there other questions? Okay. Oh yeah.
Highest Yoga Tantra is often translated as Uttara Yoga Tantra. Rinpoche usually says Maha Uttara Yoga Tantra. Is there any difference between these two?
I'm sorry, can you repeat because I couldn't hear very well.
Sorry. Highest Yoga Tantra you usually often see as Uttara Yoga Tantra, whereas Rinpoche usually uses the term Maha Uttara Yoga Tantra. Is there any difference between the two?
The full name is Maha Uttara Tantra, Maha Anuttara Yoga Tantra. This is the full name, the highest, the supreme. The Maha is highest or supreme. So this is the 4 classes, the supreme, supreme one. There's the unexcelled yoga, something like this. Don't remember exactly. You remember? What is the literal traduction of the Sanskrit? The highest you say is highest yoga tantra. Maha is great or high. Anu has to do with the winds. Anu has to do with the winds. Okay. There's any other questions before? Okay. So I wanted to say before we go on into the division and the organization of the Kriya, I want to say something about the initiation. So as you probably you know, because something has been given to you that people who are not have been asked to say something about this. Where people who do not want to receive fully, the initiation means like taking refuge and assuming the bodhisattva vows, would not be able to enter the tent during the 3 days of the initiation. You can enter after, you can sit during session and participate to the practice. But in terms of the initiation, you come only if you want to take the initiation. And to take the initiation, that means you will accept Lama Zopa as your teacher, as a tantric teacher. So it's a very important relation. It's the closest relation you can establish with someone. You to be initiated to initiate in the mandala by him. And you will have also to assume the refuge and take the 12th precept of the refuge and the 18 root and 46 secondary bodhisattva vows. So this is the prerequisite to receive the initiation and to be present, at the time. And also, there is a certain type of thing that you have to do during the. So here, sorry, I'm talking for those who are relatively new.
People can be present to the time of the motivation, and then they have to go out to the time of the getto.
Okay. So I'm gonna.
Be streamed.
Okay.
And then the streaming is also stopping at the time of the getto.
Okay.
So people who don't want to take the initiation at the time of the getto, they have to go out. But for the time of the motivation, where Rinpoche is going to explain about the motivation that you have to have, like compassion and so forth, people can stay in.
Okay, so I will repeat with the microphone. Yeah? So you can, in terms of the days of the initiation of the first day, you can stay until you can stay during the motivation. But as soon as the ritual starts, there is the gekto, which is this ritual cake to eliminate interference. We start to do this ritual. Then you will have to leave because after it's part of the initiation. So you can stay during the first part, but then after you have to leave. And also the streaming will go on for the first part of the motivation. And as soon as the ritual of the initiation starts with the gekto, then the streaming will be cut as well. That's it? Okay. So, I wanted to say that at the time of the initiation also, then, and this I'm talking for the people who are new, so just being present at the time of initiation, doesn't mean that you receive, the initiation. You have to be active, something. You have to do something. So the initiation, what it is, the teacher is meditating. And you are meditating. You are doing the same meditation, and there is a meeting there. And this is the meaning of the initiation. So just being there, do not guarantee anything. Do not guarantee that you're receiving, initiation. You have to meditate and to follow the instructions, of the teacher. He will describe the visualization, and there is the meeting. There the initiation takes place. So. And the first thing, if we distinguish the refuge, usually we take refuge because there is different level of fears, in terms of the past. They explain this. So there is the practitioner of the first scope. He takes refuge because he is afraid of the lorem. Then there is the medium scope because he's afraid of the suffering in general, of the higher realms in general. And the bodhisattva takes refuge because he's afraid of the suffering that sentient beings will experience. And in terms of tantra, you take refuge in tantra to be protected from the ordinary appearance and the grasping to ordinary appearance. This is it is presented as the main object of abandonment of tantra. You see the ordinary appearance and grasping at ordinary appearance. So this is why there is this yoga of deity, because the deity yoga eliminates, is the antidote to ordinary appearance and the grasping at ordinary appearance. So at the time of initiation, you will have to meditate your teacher, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, as being a Chenrezi himself, as visualized as Chenrezi. If you think that you have just like an ordinary being in front of you, then there is no initiation taking place. You see? So to receive the initiation of Chenrezi, you have to think that you're in the mandala of Chenrezi, that around you, you have all our pure beings, and that the teacher is Chenrezi himself. This is the way the initiation can take place. Okay, this is very important. Anyway, this will be said by Lama Zopa also at the time of a proper time. So don't fall asleep, okay? Because if you fall asleep, then there is no initiation. Okay. So now, in terms of the, we know that in the perfection vehicle, okay, the path is subdivided into 5. Okay, we have the path of accumulation, the path of preparation, the path of seeing, the path of meditation, and the path of no more learning, which is the result. Okay? So those 5 paths exist also in the Tantra. And to go through those 5 paths, there are different yogas. We call them yogas or concentrations. Okay? So usually all the Tantra, Kriya, Charya Yoga, and Manutara Yoga, they are divided into 2 yogas. Okay? So usually for the first Tantras, we talk about the yoga with sign and the yoga without sign. But for the Manutara Yoga Tantra, we talk about the generation stage and completion stage. But this is something that we will not talk. Okay? So we will just focus a little bit on the yoga with sign and the yoga without sign. That are the practices to be carried on, and that we will carry on during this month. Okay? During the sessions and in subsequent sessions. So we're going to go through general presentation. I'm sorry for those who. Anyway, so the yoga with what is the yoga with sign? The yoga with sign is when the meditating mind, the mind is mainly involved into the conventional aspects. Okay, like meditating the body of the deities. His attribute and characteristic, his colors, his arms, his implements. And the mantra recitation. So the meditating yourself as the deity and reciting the mantra, this qualified generally, mainly as the yoga with sign. Okay, because and the yoga without sign is when the mind is mainly focused on emptiness of inherent existence. Okay? So we keep it simple. So the yoga with sign. Through the yoga with sign, you see, you have the yoga of mantra and yoga of the Great Seal, which are the practice to produce the speech of the Buddha and the body of the Buddha. And with the yoga without sign, it is the yoga of thusness, and it produces the mind of the Buddha. So this is it's organized. So the practice of the path of the Kriya Tantra is divided into 4 concentration, so 4 levels of practice. So one of the particularity and the superiority of the tantric system is that it is very skilled. There is many means and method to develop a strong concentration faster than in the sutra vehicle. So as you have learned in the sutra vehicle, when you start to develop concentration, it is taught to choose one object and to remain on that object until you achieve calm abiding. In the tantric system, you always change object, because the object becomes smaller and smaller and subtler and subtler, and therefore the mind meditating on that object becomes subtler and subtler, and the concentration is achieved quicker and is much powerful. And also one of the superiority of the tantric system is the ability to develop the union of calm abiding and special insight simultaneously. While in the sutra vehicle, you first achieve calm abiding, and then you move on to the special insight and the union of calm abiding and special insight. So you see, in Tantra, it is also called the method vehicle, because he explained there's also many methods. So those, in terms of those 4, we have, the path is divided into 4 concentration, and as long as you move to those 4 concentration, you will change your mind will change focus. It will focus on subtler and subtler object. So we have the concentration or the 4-branch recitation. We have the concentration abiding in fire. We have the concentration abiding in sound. And finally, we have the concentration of bestowing liberation at the end of sound. So we will not go into the explanation of those things, because it will require months, to really cover all the aspects. But just know that there is like different level, the practices I explain and the way to meditate and where to meditate and how to meditate is explained in great details, and the means is to achieve, this single pointed mind and to achieve the union of calm abiding and special insight. So mainly in our retreat, we will focus on the four-branch recitation, the first one, the four-branch recitation, which is subdivided into self-base, other base, mind base, and sound base. Okay. So during our retreat, we will focus mainly, probably exclusively, on the first one, the concentration of the four-branched recitation. And this concentration of the four-branch recitation is subdivided into self-base, other base, mind base, and sound base. So the self-base is constituted by what we know as the six deities. The sign that we have the ultimate deities. And all of those steps, you will go through the sadhana, and Paula will explain them to you tomorrow and after tomorrow. Okay, so don't panic about the amount of information that that's falling on you right now, because everything will be digested, along the months, during the months. Okay, so let's just general presentation today. So those who cannot do teach, then this is the very example of that. So the self-base is subdivided into the ultimate deity, where you dissolve everything into emptiness and you focus on emptiness, and you think that that mind realizes emptiness is the resultant dharmakaya, etc. And then there is the sound deity, the letter deity, the form deity, the mudra deity, and finally the sign deity. So this constitutes through the self-base. To the self-base, you generate yourself. It is the process through which you generate yourself out of emptiness. You generate yourself as the Buddha. It will be Chenrezig in this context. Then there is the other base. Other base is referred to the from generation. Okay, so the other base will be meditated on our last session, from what I understood, in terms of the organization of the practice that we have, the sadhana. And we have the mind base. The mind base is particular, is when you generate a moon disk at the level of your heart, and you absorb into that moon disk. And anyway, and you meditate. Basically, at the time of the mind base, it is when you meditate on yourself as the deity. At the time of the mind base, but this will be explained by Paula tomorrow. And finally, we have the sound base, and the sound base focuses on the mantra recitation. So that mantra recitation, which at that level is the first level of mantra recitation, can be of two types. You can have like a coarse mantra recitation and a subtle mantra recitation. It means that you can have a verbal recitation, or you can have a mental recitation. And all of this will be also explained. So basically, this is what we are going to focus on. We are going to practice, we are going to receive the empowerment, which is the doors of entrance of the Tantra vehicle. We are going to assume the refuge, the precept of refuge, the bodhisattva vows, which constitute our training. And we will do the sadhana of the 1,000 armed Chenrezig. And this is the actual practice. And that sadhana is organized. Through this sadhana, we will practice the concentration of the four-branch recitation with the four bases: self, other, mind, and sound. Okay, these are the inner meditative stabilization. And once you finish, you see, the tantra is normally once you have received the tantra initiation, then you should always keep the appearance of yourself and your environment as pure. So it's not like you finish the sadhana and then the tantric practice is finished. Actually, it's just starting. Because in subsequent attainments, when you finish the session, you should keep the imagination of yourself as the deity and the environment as pure, and what you use as being object of use of the pure of the Buddha, and they produce a great a mind of great pleasure, and your activity should be meditated as the activities of the Buddha. Okay, so and same when you fall asleep. You see, you fall asleep thinking of meditating on the body of the Buddha or meditating on the Dharmakaya. Anyway, all of this will be explained to you. So it is something that you carry, that you are supposed to carry on 24/7. 24/7. So, is there any questions? Questions? I mean, with respect to what I wanted to present to you, I mean, I'm done. I've covered, But I don't want to go into, because we can go, of course, into more detail, but I don't think it's useful, and it will create more and more confusion. So we're going to keep the thing simple. Yes, there is a question.
Do you know if there is a commitment?
The commitment, I mean, it's possible. I don't know. We would see that Rinpoche will ask you to recite, I don't know, like His Holiness does from time, like some mantra of Chenrezig. But the commitment normally is to take the precept, to follow the precept of refuge, and to carry on the practice of the 18 root and 46 secondary bodhisattva vows. That's the commitment. But maybe something else come up, I'm not sure. Did you hear something, Paula? No? So far, no.
What class is the initiation? And what class?
Kriya. It's first Kriya Tantra, Action Tantra. First level.
Could you repeat what the 4 concentrations were?
The concentration of the 4 branch recitation. Yeah. The concentration abiding in fire. The concentration abiding in sound, and the concentration bestowing liberation at the end of sound. The concentration bestowing liberation at the end of sound. So in terms of, we talk about also of concentration with recitation and without recitation. So the concentration with recitation is the concentration of the 4-branched recitation. The other 3 concentration are concentration without recitation. So it means that the mantra is not anymore like whispered. There is no such type of recitation there. So, anything else? Yes?
When the 4 classes are divided in basis of the attachment you can handle, like seeing or embracing or laughing, when does it happen in the Kriya Tantra like this?
It does not happen during the sadhana, clearly.
It's something
Those are subsequent to the session, I guess. I've never found really like explanation and clarity on this. But this does not happen during the sadhana. For example, when you will meditate, yourself as the deity, and you will visualize a female deity, and you will try to use this level of attachment, So there is a discussion in this in text, but this is not in the sadhana. It is something that is carried on outside of the sadhana, outside of the practice. And there is also the discussion if some level of melting is involved, with that level of attachment that will help to produce a subtler level of mind, But there is many discussion about this. But I've never found an explanation on how to carry this into practice. Yeah. Did you? No. It's maybe something that comes, from oral instructions. Oral instructions. Yes.
Thank you, Venerable, for the talk. So if I haven't taken tantric initiation before, and I do it this time, do I have to do the sadhana every day?
No. No. Sometimes it comes with some level of initiation, especially when you receive a commentary, elaborated commentary. Then you have to carry on, the sadhana every day as a commitment. But then there is no commitment. The commitment is the bodhisattva vows. That's the commitment. But if you want, after you can do it, by yourself, or you can also find more like shorter version of the sadhana. This is a very elaborate one, that we use that Lama Zopa put together, for the retreat. But you can also find a very, very brief sadhana, just like few F5 pages, for example. And having done the extensive sadhana, you will know the main parts. You will be able to carry them into the more abbreviated practice. So the heart of the sadhana is the 6 deities. That is the heart of the sadhana. Okay, it's the 6 deities. A deity of ultimate deity, which is the meditation of emptiness. The sound deity, the letter deity, the form deity, the mudra deity, the sign deity. Those are they constitute the heart of the sadhana. And then other base, mind base, and sound base. When you practice the sound base, you are already at the mantra recitation. So usually there is a great emphasis, when you do like tantric retreat, everybody wants to finish the number of mantra and everything, and so we rush into the mantra. But actually, the mantra recitation is it's not the main. It is not the main practice. Usually, normally you move to the mantra recitation when your mind is tired of meditating on yourself as the deity. Then you move to the mantra recitation to relax the mind. Relax the mind. So the main practice of the tantra, of the tantric path, is to meditate yourself as the deity. And this is where you achieve, concentration. This is where you achieve the union of karma-binding and special insight. And this is where you also meditate on emptiness. Because we have seen, the features, a very special feature of the tantric path is the indivisibility of method and wisdom. In a single mind, you have the appearance of the deity and the mind ascertaining emptiness of that deity. So this is what is really the core of the practice. And when you're tired of doing this in your session, then you move on to the mantra recitation, and you relax the mind. But if you right away, you move to the mantra recitation, then when you're tired, what are you going to do? You just have to close the session, and go for a walk, So keep this in mind, because this is something, we have done like several retreats here in the past at Lama Tsongkhapa Institute, and there is this stress on finishing the count of mantra, and everybody, they just stop the recitation, and move right away into the mantra recitation, which is actually not proper, which is not ideal. Let's say it's not ideal. There is no mistake, but it's not ideal. Yeah. Keep this in mind. Yeah.
Thank you.
So when you do Om, when you do it at home, keep this in mind. There are questions?
Can you repeat that, since it's so important? Can you repeat it one more time, please? What we must keep in mind.
What you have to keep in mind is that the particular feature of the tantra, is the deity yoga, and where you at the time of the path, you use features that belong to the result as a ripening method. Yeah, so and there is this indivisibility. So this is one thing, and the second is the indivisibility of method and wisdom. So this indivisibility in the tantra, it is particular because it's not like having two minds conjoined, like in the perfection vehicle. like bodhicitta and the mind of generosity, helping each other, for example, which are two conceptual minds, one sustains the other. But here, the indivisibility is in a single instant of consciousness. You have the method, which is the deity yoga, and you have the wisdom, the mind understanding the emptiness of the deity, of yourself as the Buddha body. So we talk about appearing object and ascertained object. So the appearing object is the Buddha body, and the ascertained object is the emptiness of inherent existence of that Buddha's body. And those coexist in a single consciousness. When you think about this, it's very difficult to understand, how this is possible. Well, difficult. But it is what you have to build, because this is what exists at the resultant level. So you see, the tantric path, this is why it is very profound, because in the sutra, it's called the causal vehicle, but for many aspects that exist at the time of the Buddha state, you do not develop the cause for this. For example, you do not develop the cause of the Buddha's body, and you also do develop the cause of the indivisibility of method and wisdom. This indivisibility is developed only in the Tantra path, because at the time of the path, you already produce this similitude of that. And same for the Buddha's body. So really all the features are more present in the Tantric path. Anyway. Yeah. Well, if there is no question, then I'd say we stop here for today, and tomorrow you will have Paula. Oh, there is some question up there.
Thank you. I would just ask you, what will happen if I will break a vote that we have to respect?
Sorry, can you repeat? Excuse me.
What will happen if I broke a vote daily that I have to respect? A vows, sorry.
Okay, break vows. So before taking Tantra vows, it's good to, usually you have the possibility to study them. So it is good to, to really take the Bodhisattva vows. It's not like Tantric vows that exist on the last two classes of Tantra. There's a seal of secrecy, so usually it's a leap of faith, you see. You will be introduced to the Tantric vows right after having taken them. But for the Bodhisattva vows, it is not like this. You can study them before, you can have access to them before taking them. So you know if you're able to practice them, or if for now you think it's too difficult and maybe you just aspire to it and take them later. So it is good to do that first, okay? So clearly, when you look at the Bodhisattva vows, it is something which is for ordinary mind. It's very difficult to perfectly hold them. But this should not stop you of taking them. If we were able to right away keep perfectly the Bodhisattva, we would not need them. We didn't need them. So the vows are like the rails, that keeps you on the right track. So clearly, sometime from you will have infraction, but the main thing is not to break the 18 roots Bodhisattva vows. If you break the 18 root Bodhisattva, you lose. It's difficult. You lose your Bodhisattva ordination. And to break them, 4 binding factors, for most of them, for 16 of them, 4 binding factors should be present. So you will have to study all of this. But for the secondary, for the 46 secondary, you will commit infraction, but the infraction does not imply that you lose your Bodhisattva ordination. And the beauty with the Bodhisattva ordination, if it's like is not like pratikmosha vows. Pratikmosha vows or vows of individual liberation are like a clay pot. When it is broken, you cannot put it together. While the bodhisattva vows, or even like tantric vows also, but the bodhisattva vows is like a vase made of a silver. You can melt it and regenerate, the vase out of it. So once you have received the bodhisattva vows from your teacher, you can after take them every day in front of a picture of a Buddha, or you can visualize that in front of the Buddha, and you can retake your bodhisattva ordination. There is a very short ritual. I mean, the ritual are short or elaborate. This depends on the time that you have, and you can regenerate, your bodhisattva vows brand new. You can reinforce those already taken in the past and regenerate those that have been damaged. So this is the beauty of the bodhisattva vows. So if you commit infraction, you can right after confess and regenerate the bodhisattva vows. Like this. Okay? No more questions? So we're going to stop here. Thank you very much for your attention and your patience. So maybe we can dedicate on this virtue that we have gathered together, with your attention and everything. Okay? So we can go through the normal prayers that we do usually. Gyewa di nyudo la lama sangye juyu ne zowa jinya maluba deye sala goba janju semjo rembo je magye banan jeju je nyamba nyamba ya gone gondo barwa jo gare rawe gorwe jinga dam dam dewa malu juene chenre jiwa tenji gyazo ye sabe shide bandu tenju ye. Thank you. So tomorrow you will be with Paula, and she will explain, how to implement, the meditation, how to meditate in the context of the Kriya Tantra. And then you will go through the sadhana, to understand what's going on and how to do things. Thank you.